So I talked about in my last video about finding out that I'm going to be let go from my employer a few weeks ago. And although it's very hard for a lot of people where I work at, take it in, and they seem to have lost hope. I know that for me, that not all hope is lost and so forth. And I know that there is something better on the horizon. But as I move forward and progress with what's going to be happening with the new reality, when I found out about the news, I really was not that surprised at all. And I was very calm and chill about it. And, I accept it as it is. And I wasn't like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. What am I going to do? I'm going to lose my job. I'm not going to be able to get income and all this. So, I mean, that may have been the reaction for some people. But for me, I'm not that type of person. And the reason why I am not so all panicked, or I'm not all like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And the reason for that is because I knew something like this was going to happen for probably the last 18 to 24 months. I mean, there was a big feeling going on that maybe this was going to happen, and I proved to be right. Now, I'm not in the prediction game, but I mean, there were obvious, common tale signs that I think, based on our business and the work volume, it just was not sustainable. And if you look at a 1 year horizon, this business that I'm in, or the department, I mean, it's just not sustainable and so forth. And I feel, okay with it because I knew that that was going to be the case. And having that preparedness, planning mindset is really going to set you apart. And I believe that preparing for the worst or worst case scenarios, it's only going to make you a better person. And so I wanted to kind of dive more into this because I know a lot of people today, if they're not in the best situations or they find themselves in a shocking situation where they realize that they're about to lose something, if you plan ahead of time and you're prepared for the worst case scenario, then you're going to be much better off in the long run and so forth. That's how it is. So, I was talking to a former coworker of mine who, transferred out to Dallas, Texas, about a couple months ago, and I was messaging him online and so forth, and he expressed how sorry he was, and he's like, "Hey, I'm sorry to hear that you guys are going through this, and I know it can be a difficult time and so forth. If there's anything I can do, I'd be glad to help out." And then I responded back to him by saying, "Thanks, man. David, I'm not really surprised that this happened because I was preparing for something like this for the last year and a half or two. And, whatever happens, I'm going to find something that, will be better in the long run, or maybe something that could last me a couple more years until I reach financial freedom. And you just have to, go about it. You move on, and that's how life is." And it was interesting because I was thinking about just days before I found out about that uh, communication that nothing is really permanent in life. Nothing is ever permanent. No job, place you live at, if you have a family and you raise little kids, they're not going to be little forever. They're going to grow up and they're going to be adults just like you, and they're going to do the same thing and so forth. And so I always saw that this job that I'm in right now, that I'll probably have at least for another 6 to 9 months, unless I leave sooner, that this is only a temporary situation. It's not a forever type thing. And that's something that I've learned the hard way over the last several years when I had left the company I'm at, like, one time a long time ago, and then I did a lot of job hopping in between. And who knows, I may be doing a lot of job hopping again, but that's how get through temporary situations or even through tough times. And I don't know if this will be a difficult time ahead for me, but what I told David is that, hey, I'm prepared for anything, and I've been preparing for this for a long time. And whatever comes about my way, whatever happens, it'll be for good intentions. And like I said in my last video, it's not going to stop me from doing things that bring energy to me, that I'm passionate about, and I want to do things in a way that not only will enrich myself, but more importantly, you know, helping others, creating impact in life, and helping people build wealth and so forth. Now, if you look at my logo or slogan, it has my name, and I got three terms that I abide by: wealth, impact, and freedom. And so I may sound self-serving, or maybe I'm just serving my own interests, but really, when you do things that bring you joy and passion and bring more meaning in life and purpose, and you look to apply that impact toward other people's lives, then that's the best service that you can do to your fellow humans. And the what you can do overall to help create more impact on their lives, so that way they can experience freedom as well. I know freedom is a general concept, and I won't go over it here. I think freedom has a lot of meanings. That'll probably be for another video. But that's what I want to do, and I know that as these years go by, I'll be able to do things that not only bring me fulfillment, and I believe will bring me more freedom, but I can also create more impact in other people's lives as well. So that's just something that I've been thinking about. And like I said, preparing for these worst case scenarios does help. And, planning for it ahead of time is only going to reduce your anxiety, and it's going to reduce a lot of stress, and just the general problems that you may face when you go through something and so forth. So yes, it sucks for a lot of people, and it may be for myself. I wouldn't say not for myself, because I do feel like there there is a window of opportunity, or there are a lot of opportunities that will open up, and it could lead to even something better, something that will make you to be a better person. That's something that I've reflected on over the last several years, especially with what's happened since the beginning of the decade. We all know what happened in 2020 with vid and so forth, but I know that was a time when my perspective or my worldview just changed forever, and I really didn't look at the world the same way again as I did. Prior to 2020, I was a very narrow-minded. I was very political and naive and so forth. But since 2020, that's all changed and so forth. And I went from being a red pill to a black pill type of person to now a white pill, where I used to be negative, but now I see things rising up, and I do see better things on the horizon and so forth. But I've definitely changed a lot over the years. I'm not the same person as I was 7 years ago or even 5 years ago. And I think what has happened over the last several years when I did the job hopping for some time is that I've been through the struggles and I've been through the frustrations and so forth and the headaches. And what I'm about to go through these next several months, I might have to go through again. But I also know that I've been through this period before. I've been through a period of struggle and I prevailed from it. And I know I'm going to prevail again and I will come out on the top. It's interesting to see, how much you can change as an individual when you take things into perspective and so forth, and you look at other ways to improve your life and so forth. So I feel that in a way it's really helped me, and it's why I'm super relaxed and chill and so forth. And even with a lot of uncertainty ahead, I'm not really nervous about it. So I know I'm not the only one who's going through this situation. But that's the thing, is that you got to have this preparedness and you got to plan things out. And what I did, about 2 weeks ago is the day after I got the news about me getting let go from my job next year coming up. I took the time to uh, sit down. I did talk to my parents about it the day after, and they're not too thrilled about it, but whatever happens, it happens. And maybe there is a sense of hope and confidence in me and so forth. And I gotta work things out and do my part. And so the day after, I sat down, I jotted out some notes, I wrote a little plan about what I'm gonna do and so forth. And that's basically what I did. I wrote out a best case scenario of what could happen in the next 1 to 3 months. I wrote that out. And then I wrote a medium case scenario, like 4 to 6 months. And then worst case scenario, if we get to the 6 to 10 month window where I still haven't found anything, maybe at the time my employment will have been terminated, and then I'll be out of work. So that's something to keep in mind of, and it is definitely a good thing for you to plan things out. And I certainly wrote things out, and I was kind of pleased because when I wrote out a specific plan that I need to follow in the coming weeks and months, it just makes things much better, and you're not on this knee-jerk reaction mode where one day you have to all of a sudden just start to do something that you were not supposed to do. And so that's something that you have to keep in mind of and so forth. But that is what it is, and so forth. But writing out that plan has really helped me be much calmer. I feel a lot more prepared for what to expect ahead. I mean, right now I am in the best case scenario stage where I could easily find employment within the next 3 to 4 weeks. Now, I can't guarantee that. It could very well take myself more time, and it may be a little bit more work and effort, but I'm prepared to get to that point. As I record this right now, it's near the end of summer of 2026, and I very well could be looking for work as we get into the fall months, and even as we get toward the end of 2026 and so forth. So those are things that I have to keep in mind of and so forth. But it's why me coming out with this plan that I wrote will just make things better, and it won't make me be into that knee jerk reaction mode, or I'm just gonna wake up someday and just all of a sudden figure out what do I do, or I apply for 100 plus jobs, but I never get a response back. So, but overall, the main takeaway from this video is that regardless of where you're at in life, if things are going so well for you and you have a lot going for you and things are going great, or if you're in an iffy situation like I am right now, then maybe that's the case. Or if you're in a worst case scenario where things just have turned your life upside down, or you have a crap hits the fan moment, then you know what is coming ahead and so forth. But regardless of what situation right now, you always gotta plan for a worst case scenario. Or if things are going well, you know, things could easily turn upside down tomorrow if you find out bad news that you're about to lose your job, or even if it's more personal, that if you're in a good relationship with someone, all of a sudden they don't want to be with you anymore. And trust me, I've been in that situation before where I had to end a great relationship with someone. I had to end it for good reasons. She was upset and she was hurt and she loved me. And I know she still loves me now, but I had to end it for good reasons. So anything can all of a sudden change with the flicker of a light switch. And that's something that you have to really keep in mind of, be prepared for, plan for the worst. And if you have a plan, or if you have that preparedness mindset that preparing for anything, whatever happens in your life, it's only going to make you better. And as I reflect on what's happened over the last few weeks and just taking all the news into consideration and listening to my peers, who I feel like they don't seem prepared for this at all, I know that for me that things will be okay. And even if I'm in a worst case scenario where I'm unemployed a year from now, it's still going to be okay. Because I know that, like anything in life, like I mentioned before, nothing is permanent. Whatever situation you're in right now, it's temporary. Nothing lasts forever. And so, if this is something that maybe worries you, or maybe this is something that you need to hear, or you want to bring hope and clarity in your life, then maybe this is something that can really help you. And, if you set aside some time today, set aside a half hour or 20 minutes just to write down a plan. Or if you need to, set aside an hour to just get your thoughts out of your head and just write things out in clear sight. You know, what is in your mind? What do you need to do? What do you need to do today? What do you need to do tomorrow? What do you need to do next week? And if you feel like that is overwhelming to you as well, then I get it. Just start writing things out. Write out what you got to do today or what you have to do this coming week. Or you just got to take the times to write about what you want to do now and then what you want to do in 3 months or what could happen in 6 or 9 months. But regardless of, just start now and just start writing out some things in your head or whatever's in your head, get it on paper and you'll be all set. Now, it may be hard at first, but if you start doing this, if you plan things out and you prepare for it, then it won't be as bad as you think, or life is not as uh, horrible, or it's not as you know anxious. You shouldn't be anxious or panicked about it. If you set the time to plan and prepare things out, then you're going to be much better off. So, but that's all I got for today's video. Overall, if you're prepared for the worst, you're going to be much better off, and it's going to make you, think about things and from a different perspective, and you'll understand that no matter what, that nothing's ever permanent in life. And whatever situation you're in right now, it's temporary, and you're going to be in a much better, hopefully in a much better spot later on. And you got to think about it that way. But that's all I got for today. If you got something out of this video or you really enjoyed it, feel free to uh, support the channel through the link below. That is a page where if you do choose to sign up, you can get more of my content, or you get to join a community that I'm starting to build. And let's let's connect more on a deeper level, and let's build community. I want to create impact on people's lives, and you know allow me to open the door to present you to what is possible in life, and other paths to create a much better quality life ahead. Still a work in progress, but if that inspires you, or that's something that really is something you're interested in, then do consider supporting the channel. And if not, hey, no pressures. You're more than welcome to watch all the other stuff on my YouTube channel, and we'll go from there. All right. Until next time, peace.